The key to doing anything successfully is being passionate about it and finding your path in life. Because when you're doing something that you love, the universe just gives you this energy. It's like plugging into a universal source. Whereas when you're doing something that you're not passionate about, and I'm sure there's so many people in their jobs that just feel so drained every day, it's because you're trying to create this energy all the time to keep up this job or life that you might not necessarily feel is where you want to be.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Life by Your Design podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Boyd. I'm a master hypnotist, human design reader, and I'm here to help you play with convention, tap into your purpose, and live life by your design. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Life by Your Design podcast. My guest today is Anita Kolni, a 6'2" Sacral manifesting generator. She's the founder of the Volvo Ocean Lovers Festival, an annual celebration of ideas, art, music, and actions, showcasing some of the latest innovations, science, and state-of-the-art technology and cool ideas for helping the ocean. Anita successfully staged the first festival in April 2019 at Sydney's iconic Bondi Beach. And in a short time, it's grown into Australia's largest cultural and science celebration for the ocean, attracting over 58,000 visitors over 3 events with a digital media reach of 12 million. In today's episode, we chatted about how to get a project of this size off the ground, including balancing that with young children, no budget, and some of the challenges that came with COVID. We also spoke about how her gifts in the vocation, life's work, and purpose gene keys are all alive in her role at the Ocean Lovers Festival. And we got chatting about our passion for the ocean and sharks. Hello, Anita, and welcome to the Life by Your Design podcast. I'm so excited to have you with me today.
So lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me on today.
My absolute pleasure. I love it because we get to have a chat about you and your career and how you're creating life by your design. But also we get to chat about the Ocean Lovers Festival, which is, of course, your creation and something that's also, very close to my heart with my background with the ocean. So I feel like that's a great place to start. Talk to us about what the Ocean Lovers Festival is and why it's so important to you.
So the Ocean Lovers Festival is really a great place for people to connect with all the incredible things that are happening in the ocean space. And we built the festival really because there's so much mixed messaging and negative information out there that it can really be overwhelming and people just feel powerless. And if people feel powerless, they're not really going to do anything positive to create positive change. So the real ambition of the festival was to create an environment where people can come and celebrate the ocean and feel inspired and walk away feeling empowered that they actually have what's in them to make a difference too.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm going to immediately jump a little bit into your human design here because, as you know, on this podcast, I love to have a look at the human design and see how it connects into what people actually do.
I'm very excited to hear about this.
Well, so we have this specific gate or gene key, which refers to our core wound, but also our vocation. And yours is 7. And the gift of gene key number 7 is guidance. And it's actually people who are leaders, but they lead through such a way that they are guiding people to the information so that they can actually, help themselves in their own way, which I think is something that you're absolutely doing with the Oceans Lovers Festival. You're bringing together all of this inspiration and these ideas, and you're creating it in a fun and playful way for people to be able to access that. And this is the bit that will really get you. Is I then had a look at the city. So for every gene key, we have a shadow expression, a gift expression, and then a city expression, which is sort of almost the enlightened expression. And for yours, it's virtue. And when we talk about virtue here and virtuous leadership, it's not actually about kind of morals and behaviors. It's this idea, and I'm going to read it to you, that it's this pure force of virtue that we're able to bring through with this particular gene key. And it has the remarkable effect of repairing the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. So when I was prepping this, I was like, And this is, one of those things that you're ultimately trying to do with the Ocean Lovers Festival is you're wanting to help repair this part of our world. So your vocation is bang on there, Anita.
It took me a while to find it, but I knew that there was something out there just special for me that I had to do in my lifetime.
Completely. And that is the most perfect segue into my next question, actually. I would love to know where the idea for the Ocean Lovers Festival came from. What made you come up with it? How did it all start?
The inspiration came from my dad. I was working with him on a concept that was larger than life. He is larger than life as a character. And it entailed lots of really taking this Ocean Lovers concept to like around Australia and around the world. And it was really big and a bit more than I could chew off to start with. And I thought, well, I live here in Bondi. What a perfect stage to start and launch this event from. So we started here in Bondi, and my dad started competing in windsurfing again at the young age of 70. And he said, you'll have to come and have a chat with the Commodore of the club. Well, my dad was an Olympic sailor, so we've always had this passion around ocean in our family. And he said, you'll have to come and meet with the Commodore of the club and tell him about your idea for the festival. He's great with events, and they've done lots of ocean events. And anyway, I went to meet with the Commodore of the club and told him about my little idea. And he said, oh my God, you've got to actually meet with Carolyn Grant, who's now my partner in the festival. She's a passionate ocean lover. She's a sailor, and she started Vivid, and this is just right up her alley. So I went to meet with Kaz, who has an enormous amount of event and media and PR experience, a lifetime worth. And she loved the idea and thought it was really right for its time. So we started to develop the concept in January 2018. And then we went and presented it to Waverley Council in May, I think it was, and they loved it. So we decided that we were going to give it a go. And the first festival was in 2019 in April.
Fantastic. And I know that the festival is only actually part of the vision or all the things that are going on behind in the background. I mean, talk to us about all of it, because that's just part of it.
It really is. Look, I think the festival was the easiest way to launch our bigger mission, because it's a way to connect with the community, and it really is a platform connecting all the incredible things that are happening in the ocean space with the community, because so much of it is out of sight and out of mind. We can't see what's happening under the water. We don't feel affected by what's happening in the ocean, whereas the reality is that the ocean is at the heart of the climate crisis. And I think people live such fast lives today that they feel really disconnected from nature. Animals know that they rely on the land and they rely on the sea to survive. And we've created this little bubble for ourselves where we feel safe, and we don't realize how important the well-being of the environment is for our planet and for our well-being ourselves, for our very survival. So we decided to create the festival first as a platform to connect all these great ideas with the community. But then the bigger picture of the festival is really to take this a lot further than Bondi Beach. And we have already had a lot more reach than that. So our bigger concept is our Ocean Lovers Alliance, which is our not-for-profit that runs the festival. And we do events, we do lots of school programs, and there's lots of other aspects to it. So we're sort of starting to reformat now that the festival is just one of the events that we're running annually. We've already created 2 school programs that are going year-round now, and hopefully expanding to the city of Sydney for a whole month of ocean loving in 2025.
Absolutely fantastic. And it doesn't surprise me at all when I look at your chart that you've actually got your fingers in lots of pies under that umbrella, because you are a manifesting generator. They're non-linear beings. They love to have lots of different things on the go at one time. So that all makes perfect sense when you talk about that. But I guess our listeners will be really interested to have a sense of what have you done from a work and a skills perspective that sort of led you here and set you up to be successful? Because in even those short few years, the festival has really grown to something pretty impressive.
Thank you. I think the key to doing anything successfully is being passionate about it and finding your path in life, because when you're doing something that you love, the universe just gives you this energy. It's like plugging into a universal source. Whereas when you're doing something that you're not passionate about, and I'm sure there's so many people in their jobs that just feel so drained every day, it's because you're trying to create this energy all the time to keep up this job or life that you might not necessarily feel is where you want to be. And I spent probably most of the last 25 years being a mum. I've got 4 beautiful children, and that was my priority. And that was what I focused on. I did some jobs on the side here and there, but there was nothing that really, nothing that I felt passionate about enough to put this amount of time and energy into, except for my family, which comes first for me. They're everything for me. And when I started with the festival, I was a stay-at-home mum, and I got this opportunity, as I still after I was mentioning to you when I met with Kaz and we decided to go ahead with the festival, to go to Monaco. I was invited by the ambassador of Monaco to Australia to come to their first Monaco Ocean Week. I said, how am I going to do that? And I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to have to put it on my credit card and work it out, because I had no budget for the festival. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I'd never left my kids either, which was quite scary. So I had quite young ones. The younger ones were sort of 2, 4, and 5, 6, and my older one was 17. And I just said to my ex-husband and my daughter, I said, listen, I really need to do this. I just feel that it's something that I have to do to get this project happening, and it's really important to me. So you guys are just going to have to take care of the little ones. And it was really hard. Poor Noah was in year 11, and it was a big decision to make as a mum. And I remember getting on the plane and having a complete panic attack, going, oh my God, what have I done? I'm going to be away from my kids for 3 weeks. What if they need me and I'm flying to the other side of the world? And it was really quite scary. But then when I got to Europe, and I went to London and met my uncle there, and we met with Keith Musto, who started the Musto Sailing clothing brand, who's one of my ambassadors as well. Then we flew over to France, and I went to Monaco to meet with the Prince Albert Foundation and the Oceanographic Museum. And I just remember having this feeling like, who am I to be walking in to this caliber of people? I'm a stay-at-home mum with no money and had to put this trip on my credit card. But then I said to myself, look, they don't know that, and they've achieved all these things in their lifetime. But at the end of the day, I know that I've got something really special and really important to offer that I wanted to bring to the world. And I knew I just had to do it. And I walked in there with a confidence that I've never had before and got their support. And I thought, I've kind of adopted this mentality that if you're not going to go knock on a door, it's not going to open for you. And what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah,
I think
completely.
that's part of growing up. You learn to not feel so worried about what people think, and more worried about that you need to live your life your way.
Yeah, completely. And actually, if you're going to start anything along the lines of what you have, or a business, or even just going off and doing something different career-wise, you've got to do that. You've just got to put yourself out there. There's no getting around that, actually.
You just got to take a leap of faith, and you've got to do it and work on it every day. I always say to my kids as well, if you get 1% better at something every day, you're going to be 365% better in a year. And imagine what that does in a few years. And when I look back on the amount of work and effort it's taken to get the festival, passion, no pay for the first few years, and it's just been such a journey of passion, adventure. It's been so fulfilling. But like when I look back on it, I think, where did I find the energy to do that? I really don't know how I managed to do that and raising a family at the same time, because it's taken a lot. It's a lot of dedication, a lot of focus, but I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. And that's what makes me wake up excited to start every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is the thing, of course, somebody listening will be saying, well, you had introductions to all of those high profile people. It sounded like you had all the right connections and, you were able to sort of make it happen. But we all know that in all of these scenarios, there's quite a bit to the story. And there are things that are tricky and challenging about putting together something of this scale. At least not only the fact that you were doing pretty much on your own for the first part of that. But talk to us about some of the, I guess, the real realities. If somebody's listening to this and they're going, I'd like to do something similar, what would you sort of say, having hindsight in your pocket now?
You've got to make the connections and you've just got to go out there and do it. Like there's only two options. I mean, there is no such thing as failure. If you don't try, you can't fail. And the most successful people in the world have failed more than anyone else because they're not afraid to get back up and try again and again and again. And when you learn to see your failures as growing opportunities and opportunities to learn and to evolve, and you start to become aware of that pathway that you're on, and you start to recognize opportunities differently. It's like when you're pregnant and suddenly you see all pregnant women everywhere, or when you're driving a new car, you think, oh my God, everyone's driving this car. I've never noticed it before. But when you start to change your behavior, those things just sort of automatically start to happen. I reached out to people on LinkedIn. I found people on the internet. Like I went any way I could to get in touch with people. And considering that I was probably I was a super shy child, I've had to overcome a lot of things. Actually, this is a funny story. I've never done public speaking. I had never done public speaking in my life. And I wouldn't even get up and speak at a friend's wedding or birthday when I was younger. And when we had the first media launch for the festival, I had to get up on stage and talk in front of a room of 150 people. And I just remember standing there with my legs shaking so much. And I was wearing a skirt and I said, why didn't I wear pants? People could probably see my legs shaking. It was so scary. But sometimes you just got to put yourself out there, because if you don't, you'll regret more the things that you haven't done than the things that you have.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And, what are some of the triumphs that you've had with the festival in the last few years? If you kind of look back, what's on the highlight reel?
Look, I've definitely got to say getting Volvo as a naming rights sponsor, that has just given us a platform to grow, to have a company like Volvo get behind us and have faith in what we're trying to achieve and bring to the world has really given me a huge confidence boost and so much energy to do what we're doing. But then we had huge hurdles because we had COVID that came into the middle of everything, which everyone, of course, suffered, but events suffered more than anything. And through that time, we had to cancel 4 events and reschedule. The first one was one day out from our first installation of the second festival, when we were still working with no pay and barely paying ourselves, just getting by. And we had to cancel everything a day out. And that you feel terrible because you think, oh, my sponsors and everything. And we were so excited because Volvo sent us a message the next day saying, we believe in you, we're still behind you. And it just to hear, like, to have that, it definitely builds a lot of confidence. But it was a really, like, that was one of the most difficult times, because events that had been around for 3 or 4 years managed to tap into some kind of support, government support. We couldn't tap into any support. It was like pure determination that kept us going in that time. And yeah, it was definitely a challenge. When we finally got back on the week that we were after our 3rd cancellation, we had that crazy rain, which everyone was saying, well, that was the worst rain in 1,000 years. Whether or not it was, I'm not going to go into that. But that was literally a couple of days before our event, and our event site looked like a swamp, and we had to move it again last minute. So trying to deliver a Blue Solutions Summit, which is part of our Ocean Lovers Festival, not even 4 days later, I think it was 3 days later. So we had to reschedule the whole festival with sponsors, with council, with everything, and move it to a date that suited all the sponsors, that suited the council, that suited everyone else, which was a huge feat, I must say. And then, of course, that fell in the school holidays, which meant that we lost our schools program. So there have been plenty of hurdles. But overall, I've got to say that watching it grow and seeing that it's starting to take a life of its own is just the best thing that I could have ever imagined.
It's amazing. And I mean, I used to live in Bondi, so I used to see the festival, taking place on the doorstep. And I think the interesting thing with it is that, you know, if you're there and you're on the ground and you're looking at the festival, it's big. You know, it goes over several days. There's thousands and thousands of people participating and so many workshops and speakers. And it's a big festival. And when you look at it as a, you know, participant, you actually don't appreciate this. There's so few people in the background on a permanent basis actually making that happen.
Yeah, we started just Kaz and I all year round. And then at event time, there was probably between 12 and 15 of us. But that's to deliver an event that over 3 festivals, we've had 58,000 people come through the festival.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a shared social media reach with our partners of over 4 million and 12 million in digital and media reach. So we've actually managed to have an incredible reach with the festival and build incredible partnerships in that time. But it really is a labor of love, I've got to say. And it has taken a lot to get it to here, but it is a lot bigger than it looks. People will look at it and go, oh, markets, talks, this, that, and the other. When you've got to coordinate several panels with 70 speakers and media and arts and journalists and market stalls and workshops and activities and sponsors and all the bits and pieces that come into it, it's a big, a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people are not aware of.
It's a beast.
It is a beast.
It's a big magical beast. But
It is.
to anybody listening though, you can create sometimes so much with what, you know, your logical conscious mind says is not a lot of resources or not a lot of money or, you know, not a lot of time. And yet when you throw yourself into it wholeheartedly and decide that's what you're going to do, it's incredible.
It's amazing what you can achieve. Exactly. And the other thing is that if you wait till something's perfect to do it, and I think that's what a lot of people do because everyone wants things to be just right. If you try and wait till something's perfect, you might just never get there. You've just got to get out there, make the mistakes, learn from the mistakes and move on and keep going. And you do your best. And as long as your intentions are always right, then there's always a way that you can work around things. And I think also passion and positive energy are contagious. So once you start, that's what I'm noticing. Now, we've had so much in-kind support, starting with Waverley Council and sponsors and other people that have been involved and people that have been volunteering and donating their time. We partner with the United Nations Association of Australia to run our volunteer program. And we've had hundreds of volunteers over 3 festivals that have registered. And it's so heartwarming to see how many people are actually prepared to spend their weekend or spend their time supporting a good cause.
Yeah. And I actually think, you know, the ocean, some people's lives feel quite far from the ocean, but for a lot of us that are not so far from it, it touches people's hearts. You know, it is our playground and it is on the doorstep. And, you know, it is such a place of life and vibrancy in our communities that I think there really is a desire to want to protect it, even if we don't always know how.
That's right. And the other thing is, I think, really important to remember is that even people who are very far from the ocean and who have never seen the ocean, we're all touched by the ocean and we all rely on it. 2 out of every 3 breaths we take come from the ocean. And it's just one of my goals is to bring, that's why I want to grow the festival and actually take it around Australia as part of the goal, part of our bigger mission. Because if you don't understand something and you're not aware of it, it's hard to actually have feelings and fall in love with something. And when you do fall in love with something and you care about something, then you're much more inclined to protect it. So giving people a better understanding and awareness of what the ocean does for us and how important it is in our survival and our very keeping us alive, really, in a positive light is so, so important for people to change their behavior. Yeah. And for people to recognize that everything that everyone does make a difference. You can't change the world around you. The only thing you can change is yourself. So it's you changing things from within that's actually going to have that kind of ripple effect and turn ripples into waves of action.
Oh, I love it. And that's one of that's part of your actual mission, isn't
mission statement. Yes,
it is. I love it. It's so well phrased. But I'll share a little bit more of you actually with your human design. So we have another gate or gene key that's called your life's work, and yours is 50. And the shadow of that is corruption. So that's the shadow expression. And the gift expression is equilibrium. So it's about bringing equilibrium. And it's also about moving beyond the idea of hierarchy. And I would argue that one of the challenges that we have with the environment overall is that we've created this hierarchy where we've put human beings at the top of it, above the environment, above animals, as opposed to the more sort of other views that other cultures have in the world where everybody is sort of on the same level. And actually, you know, if we are going to have people really thinking about the ocean or the environment when they make choices, then it's breaking down that hierarchy. It's putting us, you know, the fish are as important as us, the whales are important as us, the water quality is important as us, et cetera, and bringing that form of equilibrium back in. And so, you know, again, I see your life's work. I see that coming through what you're doing with the festival as well, actually.
Amazing. No, that's it. We're all part of this fragile ecosystem and we all play a part. When people talk about sharks, that's one that always gets me because I understand who wants to know. Most people don't want to come face to face with a shark when they're swimming in the ocean. Some people love to.
I love it.
Yeah. And other people don't want to and they're scared of it. And they say, oh, we don't need sharks in the ocean. They just scare you. And whenever you hear a tragic story of a shark attack, the first thing that you hear is people talking about culling sharks and this, that, and the other. But they're an apex predator. And if we lose the sharks in the ocean, the whole balance of the ocean goes off. And that balance, that then has a repercussion on the rest of the whole ecosystem, including our lives in the long run. In the last 50 years, we've fished 90% of big fish from the ocean, which is just a staggering number. And thank goodness we've come to terms with it now. And if we can let the ocean rest and be, it has what it takes to heal itself and recover. But we actually have to share that understanding and help grow that understanding.
Well, that's the thing, right? And most people are not in the ocean in a way that they see that. I mean, I began scuba diving 25 years ago. I became a scuba diving instructor 23 years ago. I was a shark photographer. And I have seen such a visible decline, you know, in that time around what you see when you get on a reef or the quality of a reef. You know, we used to dive Egypt and the Red Sea so much living over in Europe. And like a friend of mine who I've had for 25 years and we've done so much diving together, we're each other's kind of main diving partner. He was in the Red Sea only a few months ago and he was like, it isn't what it used to be. It used to be the most magical playground when you got underwater. And now there's so little there in comparison. But if you've not visually been underwater and seen this stuff, you perhaps don't even appreciate some of the things that's actually happening below the surface, as you say.
I remember diving in Eilat in the Red Sea when I was probably about 10 or 11 years old. And it felt like I was diving into an aquarium of rainbow-colored fish. It was just mesmerizing. And I've heard that it's not at all the same anymore. And thank goodness there's still pockets of the Great Barrier Reef and other places that are like that. But there's also a lot of areas that are damaged. And it's really, we need people to understand and to grow that awareness as much as we can because, and that's like part of the goal of our Ocean Lovers Alliance is actually to grow an ocean loving community and movement because we need more people to understand what the actual situation is to actually be able to turn the situation around.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm very pro sharks, as you know, being an ex-shark photographer. I love them. I don't necessarily want to come right up close and personal with a great white when I'm on a surfboard, but I love to see them when I dive. But I always say if you take a beach like Bondi, which in the summertime, we know there can be 10,000 people in the water over the course of a day, how often do you ever hear of anything with a shark? Like, I do believe they're there watching us all the time. We might not know they're there. They know we are. And they just leave us alone because they're not actually interested in coming and nibbling us. You know, that's not their goal. Yeah.
No, and more people actually die in plane crashes than by getting eaten by a shark. So the statistics are it's really highly unlikely. But then at the end of the day, you also have to respect that that's their territory. And if you're going to go swimming in the ocean, you've got to be aware of that and know that and be respectful of that environment. So even just being thoughtful and going up, there's more sharks normally around dawn and dusk. So maybe don't go swimming then, or the surfers go then. And even still, how often do you hear something like you said?
Exactly.
It's true.
And this is the first festival of its kind, isn't it?
It is. There are other ocean festivals starting to pop up, but I don't think any are as robust and multifaceted as ours at this stage. I'm sure there'll be more, and I'm more than happy to share the space with other people.
Yeah. But this is the thing, though. If we look at your purpose gene key in your chart, which is 41, which again has a complete thread of leadership through it. You have a lot of leadership in your chart, Anita. But the gift of that is anticipation. And a big part of it is that people that have this gift, they almost have these kind of premonitions of what we need next, of, what we need and what's new, and things drop in for them. And I see that, you're anticipating what do we need in this space, and you're on the forefront of it because, you're the first people to create the Ocean Lovers Festival and something like this. So you're not following, you're absolutely leading.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I love all this. You're going to have to share this with me after.
Yeah, it is. So it's just wonderful. It's like really when we look at your vocation, your life's work and your purpose, it's clear that you're absolutely tapping into the gifts and the superpowers that you have innately in you, and the way that they're playing out all makes sense. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And so just tell me, how do you run the Ocean Lovers Festival, be the mum that you are to your 4 children, 3 of which are still pretty young actually, and balance all the stuff that you want in your life right now? How do you make it work?
To be honest, I haven't had the best balance for the last few years. And I think that's just the reality when you do start building a new business. But at the same time, when you're so passionate about what you're doing, it's like the saying, when you do something you love, you don't work another day in your life. I spend a lot of hours working, and I have had to sacrifice certain other things for a while to actually build the ground level and the frameworks of the festival and for the business. But I don't feel exhausted or, like, it doesn't sap my energy because it's something that I love to do. I am now very much in that next stage where I think I've built it to a level that I need to refine balance in my life, because it is very hard to run a full-time business and manage 4 kids. My oldest one's big enough, she can look after herself, but the 3 young ones still do need more of my attention. And I think it's really important to actually find that balance, have your playtime and your family to recharge. Because in that recharge moment, that's when you often feel the most creative. And if you don't, it's like exercising. If you don't rest between your exercising, you don't give your muscles time to recover. So you do need to be at your best, at your A game. You actually need to learn to switch off as well, which is something that I'm working on a lot this year, because I haven't really switched off much for the last 3 years.
Oh, it's so true. And do you have any advice for anyone who wants to start something along the lines of the Ocean Lovers Festival? If there were kind of 3 hot tips you'd have to kind of be successful, what would they be?
Don't procrastinate. Just get out there and get started, because if you don't start, nothing's going to happen. I'd say try and find people, like connect with people and network in communities that are aligned with your values, because you need to create that kind of energy around you and be in the right circles, and that will open doors to what you're looking for. So I think it's really important to mix in the right circles and start to build your networks. That really, really helps. And just stay focused and don't take setbacks to heart. Don't let them affect your confidence, because setbacks are only a lesson and might slow things down a bit, but sometimes it's for a really good reason. Maybe you weren't going in the right direction, or maybe you were. Sometimes when something goes wrong, it's actually not necessarily going wrong, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I completely agree with you. It's sometimes a redirection that you don't realize that you need. And then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, definitely wasn't supposed to be there at that time, or I wasn't supposed to be doing that thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you've just got to be open-minded and flexible, and you can be quite fixed on your idea, still stay a bit fluid because you need to actually be able to take on board other people's advice and energy and see. Sometimes you might need some redirection and be prepared to zigzag. Don't always go in a straight line.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. And I mean, when this podcast comes out, we're actually only, I think, 3.5, 4 weeks from the next Ocean Lovers Festival, which is very exciting. So for anyone who is in the Sydney, New South Wales area or wants to head on over, what are some of the highlights?
So the festival is taking place from the 20th of March to the 24th of March this year. And we have a Blue Solutions Summit for anyone who's interested in blue solutions. You can have a look on our website, oceanloversfestival.com, and Blue Solutions Summit. We have 3 key themes this year, being plastic pollution in the oceans, time to act. The other theme is innovation, science and technology, and Australia's opportunity. And then we have fishing and the future of food. So there's some really interesting topics there if anyone's interested in participating in the Blue Solutions Summit. In the public-facing festival for the weekend, we have some incredible speakers coming into our Ocean Lovers Talks program. So we'll have a whole bunch of panels where you can, and individual talks where you can learn about coral and debates on shark nets and all different kinds of interesting talks. The full program should be up online by the time this podcast comes out. You can join a sandcastle building competition or yoga on the beach. Come and do Michelle's fabulous hypnotic journey workshop.
Yes.
Or a free diving workshop or a sound healing and water and sound healing workshop. There's workshops for kids, markets. There's just so much going on across the weekend. And we have some fabulous films as well that we're going to be showing, all which have great panel talks with them. So there's a whole program with music across the whole weekend. So for all of our programs, you can check our website, oceanloversfestival.com, and make sure to follow our socials to make sure you don't miss out on any updates.
Absolutely. And all of those links will be in the show notes for anybody. But there is so much stuff on. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'm absolutely going to plug my 2 sessions right now as well. So
please do.
I love the fact that I get to take part because I get to bring what I do now with all the hypnosis and the subconscious mind work, and then at a space and with a topic that I'm so passionate about. So I've got 2 workshops that you can come and join me for. So the first one is called Embodying Action to Create Change, where we will be talking about how your subconscious patterns of behavior stop you from actually stepping in and creating change, and looking at how to create more creative solutions, which you can absolutely apply to the ocean and you can apply to any other part of your life as well. And then my second workshop is a hypnotic journey. So it's expanding purpose and possibility. So I'll be teaching you how to actually expand what's possible for you and taking you on a deep hypnotic journey where we actually expand you at a subconscious level. So come down and see me and Anita at the Ocean Lovers Festival at the end of March. We'd love to see you.
Absolutely. I think it's so wonderfully aligned with the total underlying mission of the festival too. Because it's really about, like we said, people feeling more connected to our environment and to their own possibilities. And that's, I'm very excited about your workshops.
Me too. Well, I have to say, it's been absolutely lovely having you on the podcast, Anita, and having a chat to you. And I am, so impressed with the sheer volume of stuff that's actually going on behind the scenes with the Ocean Lovers Festival. It's a pretty impressive event, and I think anyone that's seen it will agree. So, thank you very much. It was lovely having you here.
Thank you so much for having me.